So, hi all, I'm going to be demonstrating monoprinting and jelly printing. I'm going to be doing this in two parts. So I was going to do it all in one today, but I'm just going to focus on the monoprinting today and jelly printing afterwards, but I'll talk about jelly printing too. First of all, I don't know if you can see that's okay on here. Let me just get this a little bit here. Can I just check sound quality? Can you all hear me okay? A thumbs up from somebody. Oh, was that a thumbs up? I couldn't quite see. Phoebe, can I ask you, can you hear me okay? I can see you on the screen. Let's have a look and chat. Okay, I think so. I think that's all okay. Do shout out if not, okay? Just to go through, I've made a glass plate here. It's quite easy to do. This is just actually from a bit thin, this glass, but this is from a picture frame. Picture frame glass is slightly too thin really and easily breakable, but rather than throw it away, I thought, okay, I can make a nice monoprinting plate for that. So what I've done is put masking tape on the corner, so to avoid, for health and safety, to avoid cutting yourself and things like that. So I'll just cover the whole edge with that. And obviously when you store it, you mustn't store it with any weight underneath because it will crack. Yeah, so like I said, a thicker plate is much better. Glass tends to be better for monoprinting, and certain inks are better for monoprinting than others, because what happens is you do get water-based inks, which I find actually to be, if they're just water-based but not just plain kind of water-based, you get two types actually, that's why I'm stuttering about this. Water-based, you can get ones that are you can wash out with water. These aqua wash ones are quite good, but they're actually a bit like oil-based washable water oil paints. You can get those too, but so similar to that, but it is an aqua wash oil-based paint. If that makes sense. It's obviously quite a new thing because it's not a traditional oil-based ink. The oil-based inks though are better than the sort of water-based ones. They print better. So what I would suggest you do is, if you can get hold of these ones, they're quite handy because you can wash them out with water, but they have the quality of oil-based ink, so they're quite nice. This one is douce aqua wash. Obviously there'd be different brands. Some of the colors work better than others. I find the black is a go-to really. Some of the other colors I have like a yellow and a white and a blue. They don't tend to print quite as well. As with rollers, you'd need to have different rollers. So I've got a range of rollers here that I use. And I've got one nice one that my special ruler that has a nice heavy weight to it. If you're serious about it, it's worth going into that, getting a nice roller as well, because these don't tend to last long. One on the cleaning front, just going through the basic bits to start with. Do try and clean around the edges because it just ruins the roller if you don't. Okay, so do try and clean around those edges if you can when you do clean up. I'm going to talk about monoprinting. Monoprinting is quite fun to do. You can do lots of sort of experiments with it. And we're going to start off, I'm going to go straight into it actually. I'm going to start off using this black tint first of all and rolling that out. Now, you don't want a huge amount. What you can hear is it when it starts to go, I don't know how that sounds on the over the screen, but when it makes that sound, kind of tacky sound, that's kind of how you want it. And you roller it out, put a newspaper down. If you're prone to getting messy, what I suggest you do is wear an apron. What I should do any minute now, because I am prone to messy applications of medium. There we go. So now you can see it's, or hear rather, it's got that nice quality. You don't need a huge amount of ink. It lasts quite a while actually. So do be mindful of that. Now I've got also two plates on the go here, which I'm going to work across in a minute, just to show you. What I like about monoprinting, I'm not really a printer, but I do like, if you go into fine art, you'll find that there's those different avenues of you learn it all, you know, from drawing, painting, sculpture, and printmaking is the other fine art, if you didn't know that. Now those rollers have a little step there, so you can place that down so that it doesn't, I can't show it on here, but when I lay it down, it will mean that the roller doesn't go onto the surface, which is really important, because otherwise you end up with you know, messy ink everywhere. Okay, so different ways of working. You can get your drawings, which is really a nice way to work, and you can literally work on top of a photocopy or a drawing. And I'm just going to show you this now. So I'm literally getting a piece of quite thin photocopy paper because it works quite nicely as a transfer medium onto there. But you can get other papers, thin papers. Like I say, if you're going to go more professional, then you can work with all different sort of qualities of paper and so forth. Now I've photocopied one of my drawings out of my sketchbook. So I've got these drawings that I've showed before, I think, and I'm thinking I'm just going to photocopy one of these drawings so that I can work with it to see what happens. Okay, so I'm going to work with this one, I think, and then you can transfer your photocopy. Obviously it doesn't have to be in colour, but I might do something with that later on, you know, like all the collagey things. The key is really, if I start pressing down, what happens is, actually I've got that all the way around, so I want to see what I'm doing, don't I? So there you go, this way. I want to just hold that edge. I don't want to sort of press hard, because if I'm pressing hard, then that's going to come through. And I'm literally just drawing on top of my photocopy to see where that takes me. Just drawing on like that. So it's really nice if you're going to fashion and things like that too. You can, not drawing boats, but what you can do is draw templates on here, and then you can work over the top of those. Okay, so I'm just drawing this as is. Obviously you can play around with colours too. I've got all these colours that I can play around with. I'm just going to do like a little quick demo just to show you the kind of work. Now I'm just using a pencil here to draw with. What you can do as well is use things like a pen. A pen's going to give a very different kind of mark, because, and I'll just do that to show you, it's much finer. So it has a much finer quality to it and much harder. If your paper's too thick, obviously you're not going to be able to work. I might try on a little bit to see what works, so you guys can see what works and what doesn't work. I think I've done that bit there. I'm just going to go through again, drawing the clouds, getting that fluid mark. Like I say, because you're drawing on top of it, it doesn't have to be in colour. It can be just a black and white image. It doesn't really matter. And of course, you can use other things to work with. You can start to sketch in a bit more. You can use your thumb or finger to rub in, and then that also gives a grade. Now some of these, it's a bit hit and miss as to what's going to work fantastically straight away. You might turn it over and it might be too heavy or whatever. So let's have a look and see what we're working with to start with, just in case it's an absolute disaster. There we go. So there you've got the first kind of monoprint, looking at those shapes. You can see the difference between the pen line here and the pencil line, you see. So depending on what you're working with, it almost looks like string here, doesn't it? You get these nice random effects because you don't quite know what's going to happen. And that's kind of the nice thing with mono printing. Mono, obviously, meaning, if you think of monobrow, we know what that is. One eyebrow. So mono printing is one print, but really it's not just one print, because what happens is you can create what we call a ghost print from that. So again, getting your paper, there's the imprint of that on there. I'm going to just lay that on the top there. Bam. Get a clean roller, and then I'm just literally going to roll that nice and firmly there. Like I say, these more expensive rollers have a little bit more weight and substance, so they end up feeling a lot, you know, you've got the weight on there already. So there we go. There we've got a ghost print from the one we've just done. So it's literally like a negative. Now that's pretty much going to be as is. But what's quite nice with this, if you think about how you might progress with these, you could, for example, start to cut out elements from them and bring them across and transfer them across into here and so forth. And that can be quite a nice thing to play around with. It's just an experimental process really too. So like I say, there's an element of surprise with monoprinting. You don't really know what's going to happen exactly. You need to put those somewhere to dry because, like I said, it's oil based, so it will be a little bit wet for a while. Other ones that you can do, I'm just going to try actually. I've got this thicker. I don't know whether this is going to work. I'm going to roll her out again. I'm going to try it, but I don't know whether it's going to work. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to roll her out here again with the ink. There's probably enough on there. Still got that little bit of lift on it, so I don't feel like I need to put more on. The mistake that a lot of people make is they put too much on, and then it's like painting with honey or something, so printing with honey, so you don't want that. So this is a piece that I prepared, just an experimental piece I prepared with tissue paper actually. So certain tissue papers you can lay on, it's quite nice actually. It's a technique also with monoprinting. I've just thought of that too, which is called chincolle. You can in effect lay bits of tissue paper onto here and then print as well, and the tissue paper will print obviously onto the or you can glue it onto the paper and then print with it. It's quite nice because you get the blocks of colour, almost a bit like this. You'd get blocks of colour and then print on top. So what I've done here, this is actually tissue paper laid on wet. It's quite thick paper though, probably 280 grams. I don't know whether this is going to print, so I'm going to try it just to see, just to show you the difference in paper. And I'm going to place that same image over the top again. Let's see what happens. I'm going to place that on there. Now I feel I'm going to have to work quite hard with this because that paper is thicker. So I'm really actually going to work quite almost like pressing really, really hard here. And that might actually come through. Let's see if it does. I can't see actually if I'm pressing hard enough with a pen why it wouldn't. I'll just go up there. My fingerprints might not come through on here because it's a thicker paper, but we can see what happens. What's quite nice too when you're drawing, I don't know if many of you are drawers, but it's quite nice using what we call a directional line. You can see I'm doing this here. I'm sort of going in one direction. Now, one of the artists, I'm going to give you an artist that worked fantastically with that, who's a printer, is Morandi, also a painter. But he did a lot of engravings on where you have to use the directional line to put the plate into acid so that it holds the ink. So if any of you are interested in printmaking, you can look up his name. It's Morandi, Morandie. Okay, so I'm just going to draw these lines and see what happens. So yeah, with printmaking, there's lots of different techniques. Maybe where you are, there's somewhere where you can have, if you get into printmaking, somewhere where you can use the facilities. That's working before I carry on. Pinky boo. Oh, not terribly well actually. Again, because the paper's probably too thick. I'm just going to show you actually before I go through. So before we carry on, let's have a look. So that's coming through a little bit. It looks more like a rough charcoal drawing there. It doesn't come through as well. So you can see the difference in the quality of line when you're working with a thinner paper. You have to have that kind of thin quality paper for it to work. But what I might do with something like this is cut elements of that out and collage it on top, for example, and play around with those. So you can see the quality of the paper is really key, or the thickness of the paper is really key in making it work or not work. And what we can do is also work with taking elements out as well. So I'm going to use a bit of tissue here to pick out elements. I'm going to just roll around. I might need a bit more ink now. It's losing a little bit of its thickness. I'm going to put a tiny bit on there. Just get that to... If you're worried about health and safety things, so you should really wear gloves, really, I suppose. And unless you don't eat and drink next to printing ink and things like that too. Make sure your cat or dog doesn't walk over the. There we go. You've got that tacky feeling. It's sound again. Make sure animals don't, you know, walk over your plates. Although paw prints could look quite nice, I suppose. But don't, I'm not suggesting that, don't do it. Okay, so I'm going to lift out as well. So this creates a completely different kind of print too. So I'm going to lift out, which is something you can do as well. Say I'm drawing clouds or something like that. I did a demo on cloud painting with acrylics the other day. If you haven't seen that, some of you might want to go and look at that too. I did it in 4 stages where I didn't do it on a live one. It's a bit easier actually live like this, I have to say. Sort of compresses the videos easier on Teams. Okay, so I'm just lifting out. You can see the text coming out underneath there. And of course, you can have a print on newspaper and stuff like that too. That's quite nice. Let's try that in a minute. So you have this ability to do something like that too. Okay, so let's pretend we've got like a kind of stormy clouds. Again, like I said, it's an element of surprise. You never know what's going to come out. You can also scrape with something to lift out. So I've got here, as it's on glass, you can do it with pretty much anything, I guess. So let's. That's going to come. Yeah, you can see it's coming through a little bit. So I can scrape. Let's do rain. I'm just making this up as I go along, actually. But I kind of like that element of playing. Pretend we've got some rain coming down. There we go. So now I'm going to come across my paper again, layer over the top. I can then combine the two if I want. So I can combine with let's pretend we've got the sea again. If I was looking at the sea earlier on, maybe the sea's going to be a bit more stormy if it's a stormy weather. And we can roll it over with our roller. Make sure you're pressing hard and even right across the plate and lift up. Ooh. We like these. I like that one. Okay, so that's quite expressive, isn't it? That's quite nice. We've got the different combination there of scratching in with a knife. Again, what tool you use is going to have a different effect. That sort of brushing out. Yeah. So you've kind of got quick. If you're doing design ideas and stuff like that, it's a really nice, quick way getting design ideas. Yeah. Yeah, just play. So I mean, now look, I've got 3 prints. I don't know how long it'll be, and I'm going to get a ghost print over the top, see what happens. And again, you can draw on top of these. That's not, there's nothing to stop you doing that. If you find that you've got a really bad print but there's elements of it that are quite nice, when it's dry, just go over the top of it. Now I've done landscapes here. I'm going to show you too what you can do. Let's combine that in something that might relate more to others as well. It doesn't have to be obviously landscapes. I'm showing you things that you can do to generate ideas. So I'm standing up doing this the whole time. Don't sit down doing it because you just haven't got the energy into the hand to get the print. So this one's a bit wishy-washy. So if I might think, okay, I'm going to draw into that perhaps, see what happens there. Okay, but it's a process. Yeah, everything you do is a process. Okay, so let's go on to adding a bit more ink onto there, and I'm going to just try something else as well. I mean, other things you can do is printing. Just try that. Actually, I'm going to try. I don't know where that's going to sound like. See, I should put some more ink on, quite like that. If you're doing portraiture too, it'd be really nice with lifting out elements, like a subtractive drawing, charcoal drawing, where you work with the black charcoal and then lift out. That could be really nice here. So I might try that just to show you and see. So it's always good to have a bit of reference too. So let's see I'll just do something from a magazine. I've got this magazine image. I'm just going to use that as a reference to work from. Let's see what we can do with her, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to get my mag and I'm going to get my pencil. You might even use if you've got one of these cheapy pencils, you might think, okay, I'll use a rubber to lift out just to get the idea where things are. If you've got any questions whilst I'm doing this, do speak out. You guys probably can't see anything that I'm doing at the moment, but it will come in a minute. Yeah, I'm going to use that pencil to sketch out. I quite like this sketching on the plate. We see it now a bit more. Bit of a kind of Romany nose. Again, standing up's really nice for this. I'm going to lift out in a second too. Quite moody. Thing with these kind of prints is that I say moody because they have that kind of moody feel to them. And you can see that black background. Let's put out a bit there. Again, of course, if you feel like, oh, I don't like that bit there, you can always go over with your ink again there. And yeah, it's a nice thing about it. It sort of crosses, and that's why it comes under the fine art element to it. Crosses boundaries of painting and things. So you get that kind of painting, drawing, that mix across the two. Here, always between the eye and the following around the line. Okay, so let's bring the hairline up. Eyes are always halfway, as you know. I'm just repeating this in case some of you don't know. So half. If you're looking straight on, that is, or let's get some gestural lines in there. Again, I'm not looking for exact lightness. I'm just looking for sort of the process. Exploring the process and see what happens. And she's got these plaits on, the crazy plaits going down. Okay, I don't like that. Then I'm going to just get rid of this bit here. Okay, so I'm going to lift out with the eraser with the I think I'm doing charcoal drawing. Lift out with the I quite like the text coming through there. You know, you could always photograph elements of what you're doing too, if you're doing things like that too, because you can get happy accidents in art, things like that, like the text coming through. Just twirling that end of this to give a bit more control, so I get the highlight. And again, just getting that bit there. And I'm just going to build up the light here. If you're not sure what you're doing, it's always quite nice to like with light. I mean, not in general, but if you're not sure what you're doing with the light, it's quite nice if you squint to see where the highlights on whatever it is you're drawing, because that can really I'll just zoom across so you can see the portrait too. That's a bit better, isn't it? I think put it up a bit. Hold on, my stones come out. Sorry about the wibbly wobbly. I'm more hands-on than tech. Where are we? So I'm just lifting out these bits here a little bit. I guess it's going to be a bit like a painting, those kind of painterly elements to it, isn't it? What you can do too is, if you're not sure what's going on, is you can always put a piece of white paper underneath rather than newspaper. That's going to give you a clearer image, you see. It's a bit clearer, isn't it? Also for demonstrating, it's clearer. There we go. So lift that out. These bits are a little bit fiddly. With jelly printing, it's a little bit different in that you can sort of layer more an art. I mean, it's fun jelly printing, but I think there's more of an art to this because it's sort of more drawing based. But I will do jelly printing, like I say. I'm going to actually do that after the half-term break now. So if you're solely wanting to watch that, I'm afraid you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. See, so I'm literally just twirling, so it's beginning to come together a little bit. With the thing, if you were using, just a tip here, if you were using like the ink that I was saying earlier on, that's just the water-based one, that's cheaper than this one, but you couldn't really do this because by the time you finished working on it, it probably would have dried. So yeah, it's not as good. You need to have some. This is the washable. If you didn't catch that, the washable oil-based printing inks. But you can just use the oil-based ones too. That's solely oil-based, which you have to thin out with white spirit or the likes. She looks like she's had a bit of Botox, so lifted eyebrows, bring that down a bit. Okay, I'm going to just get an impression of this so you get an idea of where it's going. Because I squint as well to see where the highlights are. If you do it yourself whilst you're looking at this, you can see perhaps where they are. There you can see this is a bit too white, isn't it? You know, I need to blend that in a little bit. It's like painting with a piece of kitchen towel. Up here perhaps. Get that light that's coming in the back of her hair. I'm actually going to just put that in like that, and then I'm going to draw into it. Actually, she's got a bit more light here, hasn't she too? And of course, the lips. You don't want to. Yeah, it's going to be her own person. I mean, it's not going to be exact. Obviously, it's working with I quite like that lip like that, I think. Yeah, and I'm going to just get that edge of the neck in. More of a highlight here. The highlights are really key actually with giving a sense of form when you're drawing or painting. I'm not putting her shoulder in. I decided to leave that out. I don't really want that in there. Okay, I'm going to print that to see what it looks like. I'm just going to bring that across here a bit. Bring that in here. Just quite sort of painterly, isn't it? Let's see. Quite curious myself. Okay, place that over the top. Your nice roller. Remember that you were using the thin. This is literally just. Damn, I moved it. This is literally just photocopy paper, but you can get particular paper from Monoprinting too that you can use if you go to an art shop and ask. Let's see. Already it's drying, unfortunately. I took too long. But you can get the feel. I mean, even you could photocopy that. That's, you know, photograph that as one of your works, but it would have come out had I not worked. I need to work a little bit quicker. That's the advantage, I think. Again, if I was saying about oil-based solely, that would have worked and come out as dark as this bit where it's a bit wetter. So it is hit and miss. You think, oh no, I really like that, and it's not, you know, it hasn't quite worked out. So just take a photograph of it. That's your process as well. Yeah. Okay. But again, you can draw into these and work into them. Yeah. So I'm going to actually see. Let's see if we can do that. I don't know what's going to happen now. I'm going to try and lay it up where it was. That's the tricky bit. So what if I was clever about this? I would have marked it, perhaps where. I'm just going to lift the camera up a bit. Perhaps where with a bit of masking tape, I could have marked the corners, and that way you could overlay. So if I was thinking this might happen again, I probably would do that. But sometimes you can play around with an image to see. Let's see if that tunes. No, it's roughly in the right place, she says. So I think because of it pressing on, it will come about. So I think I can work with that. But of course, I don't know the image because I can't see it. So I will have to just play with the idea of doing a double image, perhaps. Just drawing on top, and this is going to be really random because it's going to be in all different places, but that could, you know, if you've got something that doesn't work, just play with it and see if you can make it into something that does work, because me pressing down into this is actually going to print. It's because I was lifting out and it just dried a little bit. Let's see what happens. Which doesn't look as good as this drawing. And of course, you can use the photograph from the magazine too, or any photographs from magazines to work with. But I'm a little bit long with this bit of the cheekbone. Let's see what happens. I'm not going to spend too long with this because this is another demo to show you. Okay, so just see. I don't know whether that sounds. If you're cringing the other end of the camera with the sound, you know, like when people do chalkboard, is it a bit like that when I'm drawing? Okay, and again we can work with this. Let's see. You can tell this is all in a completely different place anyway now, but we're going to just see where it goes. Okay, so let's see. Oh, okay, that's quite interesting. See what I mean by happy accidents? You kind of have this now. I've got this double image coming across. You know, if you were like doing a project on sort of dream or memory, something like that, you might play around with this idea. Could be quite nice. All food for thought, isn't it? Okay, so that's another image. This plate might be getting a little bit sticky now, so I would go off and wash it, but that's not much fun for you guys. So I have another plate that I've got here, so I can use that one to draw with, and I'm just going to show you. We're going to use that same model, and I'm just going to show you what we can do too. So this is quite nice as well when you're working with magazines as well. If you want an image from a magazine, like we've looked at using your drawings, we've looked at using ghost prints, and just be considerate too if you want your whole, you know, how much of the ink, if you want that kind of rough edge around, that's obviously going to print. You know, if you want to fill up your whole of your A4, then you need to go all the way to the edges or whatever size you're working with and to take that up. And if you're not sure, that's like putting the A4 piece of paper like I've done here underneath helps. Okay, so I'm just going to get another piece of paper and just place that over the top, and I'm going to use this woman again and just again draw her, so you can trace off from magazines. What's quite nice with that is you could layer things quite easily as well. Think about the quality of the line you use as well, whether you are going to be using line that's fluid and non-scratchy or a scratchy kind of gestural line. Mistakes that some students have made have been to forget where they're drawing, so they can't see where they're drawing, and then, for example, whatever eye that's missing or kind of thing. Again, you can use your finger to get tone. Do that bit down here and around here, around her eyes, to press in, around the hair, around the ear. Make sure I just got the pupil, the shape of the eye, and then I think we're ready to go. Let's have a look. There you go. Yeah, so you've got like a kind of different mark than you would if I asked you to draw that as is. It'd be very different. You can see here I forgot to do the edge of the hair, but I kind of like that. It's kind of different, isn't it? But you could always peel away and have a little peek and see what's going on. But this gives you an idea. Now, if you wanted to think, okay, I would like to add things into that background too, you know, you can, for example, start to lay it down on a plate or just on part of the plate and draw back into it and stuff. Yeah. So that's using obviously a magazine, and obviously it's always in reverse too. Yeah. So you just need to think about that. You can play around with text and things too. Obviously you'd have to think about that if you're working with text, that would be if you're copying text, it's going to be flipped the other way. Okay, so just be mindful of that. Okay, good. So we have a variety of drawings there, or monoprints rather, that you can work with. You can also use things like netting or other things to print with. Let's just try that and see. Different colours too. I'm going to show you what I mean with the different colours. I don't know that they work quite as well, so I'm going to show you in a minute and see. So let's see what happens if I just lay that on top there. And I've got a little bit of, it might be a little bit too thick. Let me just try it. I'm just going to try a little sample there and see what happens. So I'm literally just got that on there. I've got my roller and I'm going to press around. It depends what it is as to how it's going to print. It's all like a bit trial and error. You need to really press up. Let's see. We just got some of the netting. This thicker item again doesn't work with a thicker item, but what will work is if you then take this off and then you've got that printed, and you can of course print with that. So I'll just move that out of the way, and you can play around with this kind of idea of printing. If you're not, if you want to add a bit more, why not? You know, make sure you've got enough ink on it. You can always add a bit more ink, and then you can print with as well, and then you get those kind of marks. Yeah. So going back and forth, it's all printmaking. Yeah, sort of working with different things, thinking how you can play around with it. Okay, so that's obviously with a bit of lace. Quick, easy way to get that. I might think, okay, I'm going to use that in my background of my woman over here. Let's have a look. So I might get her back again. There we go, there she is. And get some of my ink on my bit of lace. I'm just going to roller that again. I'm just showing you. Oh, I'm just rollering it again. Yeah, so that it has enough ink on. And I might decide, okay, I want to put some pattern in the background. Nice. Yeah, so you can play with things, see what happens. Okay, and then we're going to just look at the other colours as well and see how that works. So grab plate number 3. I have found black to be the one that works best. Okay, plate number 3. And these just wash off with water, so it's that washable one, just to recap on that. Plate number 3, I've already got a bit dirty, look at my hands, we'll see. Okay, let's try with the blue, and let's have a look at what blue that is. The blue, obviously you need a clean ruler as well, a little bit of white. And I've just got a feeling this is not quite as good. I'm going to prove myself wrong now. And of course you can mix colours too if you want. So it's gone a bit gunky now. I might just try and scoop that off with that palette knife. Again, I'm looking for that. Just hold on a second while I get a palette knife. I'll put it somewhere else, but I can scrape off with, because that's a bit too gunky there. I was going to use this to draw with, actually. Just found something else, like an old skewer that you can use to draw with. Okay, so yeah, this paint's gone a little dry. Again, we can work with another image here. Let me try this one, actually. Turn my plate down the scope. And we can move that down here a little bit. See what happens. And you can draw as well. You can I can start to scratch out things here to get the feeling of bits. And then I can, wrong way again. I could work with paper on top, that on top, and again I could draw and see. So let's see if this one, I think I've gone past time now, but hopefully it's still recording. Let's see if this is working. Again, I'm using, the thing with the biro is you've got this like hard, a heavier line, haven't you? So it's kind of making gestural marks. Doing very, very quickly because I'm aware of the time. But just let's see. Da-da-da! Okay, let's see if that's worked. Ooh, yeah, you see what I mean with the colour? Complete failure. Yeah, that's a good one to end on. So if you find the colours aren't working for you, it's just sometimes the pigments aren't that great. I think if it's pure oil based, you're fine with colours. Yeah, so if it's pure oil based, but the water washable ones tend to just not work as well. Maybe it's a brand, that kind of thing, but maybe I mean, it is a good quality brand this, but I find the black ink, and I think I've had it with some of the oil-based ones too, I think the black ink tends to work, if you're starting, tends to work in a better way. I'm just going to spin around for a minute and then end the demo. There we go. So I would consider making sure that you just, if you want to start off, just play around with black ink, get yourself a glass plate. You can also use like just a perspex too, to be honest with you. It doesn't have to be glass. It could be a perspex plate, which is less breakable. And you've got your magazines, your newspapers, you're playing around with all these different elements. Okay, so do take that on board, learn from your mistakes. Don't be put off if it doesn't work. See what I did with that portrait one. I quite like that, you know, going over it and working into it, for example. It's all a journey. Okay, so enjoy the journey, get experimenting, and I look forward to seeing your work. Do any of you have any questions before I finish? I've got one notification in the background. I hope it's not somebody waiting on chat. Let's see what they said. So any questions at all? No, I hope you enjoyed it, and send me your work. I'll put this up in, I'll try and get Alberta to create a printmaking platform, so that could be quite nice in there, or in drawing it will go. Okay, all right then, speak to you soon. Bye.